pleasure to be here at the PCA show. I was just thinking about it as I was walking up here. I went to my first trade show in 1995, which is hard for me to believe. I've been coming to these for a long time. It's always one of the highlight trips of my year. Really love being here. It's such a special place. There's a great turnout. I don't think you're here to see me. I think you're here to see somebody else. The cigar world has become, there's been a lot of star power in the cigar world lately. Cigar brand after cigar brand with celebrity names attached to them. So we're here today to discuss how some of these brands came to be, the inspiration behind them, kind of go in the minds of stars who have created cigars. So I'd like to introduce a star panelist. You know him from the hit show Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. You know him from the cover of Cigar Aficionado magazine, and you know him as the co-owner and co-creator of the Knuckle Sandwich Cigar brand. Put your hands together for Guy Fieri.
Thank you for that very nice introduction. Made it sound so polite and calming and so soothing. I wanted it a little bit more exciting. I'm going to rip your sleeves off your jacket next time.
You know, I was going to wear the black T-shirt, but I don't think I could pull the look off like you got.
Yeah, they'd think we're twins anyways. Someone called me Eric Espinosa when I got out of the car. I'm like, what? How can I look any more like Eric?
I mean, yeah, you look just like Eric. I could see the resemblance. Yeah, okay. So some of you were here last year. And
I love that's how everybody remembers us. Josh said the same thing. Where's the tequila?
Well,
no, we have to. We're taking. It's a little intervention on Dave. We're not allowing him to drink anymore this week. So no, I'm just kidding. Why don't we have a bottle of Santo?
I've done a lot of interviews. That was the first one where it was weaponized with a bottle of tequila. Delicious tequila, by the way. Guy made me do a shot for every question he didn't like. I think, was that the rule?
It went something about like that. Made the night really interesting, no?
Yeah, that was a good start. So let's just start quickly to talk about your interest in cigars, which of course led to you making a cigar. I want you to just tell us a little bit about Gramps, your grandpa, your grandfather, who was really your inspiration, I believe, if I got the story right, for having you smoke cigars.
Well, first I want to say thanks to PCA for having me, and thanks for having all of us, right? This is a good time for us to get together. Cigar Aficionado for leading the way and always keeping us informed. I've always been a cigar fan. Dave, you know the story. When we met, I published and everybody said, we want you to be on the cover. And Dave said, no, he's not going to be on the cover. I said, that's fine. I'll just take an interview just to be in the magazine. I've always been such a big fan. And I told him the story about how I got into cigars. My grandfather, my Gramps, down in North Carolina, down in Morehead City, North Carolina, always smoked like Tiparillos and White Owls. Not necessarily the cigar we're smoking today, but I always loved that smell. It reminded me of my Gramps. It reminded me of family. It reminded me of going to vacation in North Carolina, coming from cold Northern California. And it was just that thing. And so when I was in college, and I wasn't into smoking the flavored cigars. That wasn't my thing. And I think the cigars I was smoking probably were pretty shitty, and I wasn't taking care of them. But I always liked cigars. And there was a difference. You'd buy smoke it in the shop, and you'd be sitting there going like, God, this is the greatest thing. And then for some reason, 5 days later, when you smoked the same cigar that you had bought, and it just didn't taste as good. Oh, humidification in Las Vegas when you're going to college is not your friend in Las Vegas. So that's what started it. And I remember when I didn't have any money and I was just poor, graduate from school, made $22,000 a year coming out of school, working restaurants. On Mondays was my one day off, and I would ride my bike down to Churchill's, this little cigar shop, and scrape together whatever money I had left over rent and buy a cigar and try a different cigar every time. And I was just hooked. That was it. And it wasn't just the cigar, Dave, and you know this, and I think we all know this. You're sitting with people right now that you probably wouldn't talk to or, have a run-in with, but you get this camaraderie of us all kicking. I know it's an old story. Everybody says it the same thing. But there really was a uniqueness about sitting in a cigar shop and having a great smoke. And from then on, I've been hook, line, and sinker and have pushed and pushed and pushed till I finally get to have this opportunity. So
now, you're a celebrity. You've got a cigar brand, but you don't have a cigar named the Guy Fieri cigar, which I think would be, for somebody maybe in business school or just thinking as a business prospect, hey, let's use the star power behind the brand. You resisted that. You didn't want to do that. Why make that decision? Why not put your name on the cigar?
All right. Well, there's a variety of reasons behind it. One, I wanted to make something that stood on its own without having my name attached to it. If there was some connection to it, like later on, like Knuckle Sandwich is the name of all of my companies. Everything is called under Knuckle Sandwich. So we never named a product Knuckle Sandwich. And quite frankly, I was never going to, because if that product didn't work, I didn't want it to take down the super important name. It was the first name I named. So I had this little restaurant company in Northern California. And then I got the TV job at the Food Network. You're going to love how much I made my first episode, $1,250 an episode. I know, TV star. So they're going to send me my first check. I think my check was $1,250. Maybe that wasn't even the episodes. And I said to my buddies, I got to come up with a business name for because I can't send it to my restaurant company because I had a business partner, and I got to think of a name to call my new television whatever thing. And my one buddy said, all my buddies are hanging out at my house, kind of like it's a soup kitchen waiting for me to cook. And my one buddy said, hey, how about you make us something to eat? And we'll all think of a good name while you're cooking us something. And I said, and his name's Dirty. I said, hey, Dirty, how about I make you a knuckle sandwich? He goes, that would be a great name. All right, what do you guys want to eat? And that's how Knuckle Sandwich. I got a big tattoo on my forearm, and that was Knuckle Sandwich. And so I was never going to do it, never going to name anything Knuckle Sandwich. So I started going on this trek of trying to find someone to make cigars for me. And I had a real good idea of what kind of cigars I wanted to make. And friends of friends of friends told me about this Eric Espinosa guy. So I talked to Junior, and we have a great little chat, and then he hooks me up to talk to his dad, and his dad comes to the Food and Wine Festival in Miami, and he sits down, and who knows Eric Espinosa? Anybody? Y'all went to jail with him. Okay, so if you know Eric Espinosa, all right.
That's a good Eric Espinosa.
So Eric sits down, he goes, I got to be real honest with you. I don't want to make a celebrity cigar. And he throws me a cigar, Laranja, throws me one of his best cigars, still one of my favorite cigars, and a cutter and a lighter. And so I take the cutter and I throw the cutter back at him. You passed the first test. I'm like, I'm being tested? So we sat there and had this conversation. Is this thing on, by the way? So, I'm sorry, they'll get funnier. It's because we're not drinking. I said, well, that's good, Eric, because I don't want to make a celebrity cigar either. That's not what my interest is. I don't want to do one of these things because it says Guy Fieri on the outside of it, on the band or on the box, that people are going to buy it. I just want to make a badass cigar. I know what you're doing in Espinosa. I had smoked a bunch of Espinosa, and I hadn't spoken Laranja yet. That was a whole transformation of education. But that's what's been the great thing is Eric and Jack and Hector and Junior. I mean, everybody's been such a great partner, and yeah, that's what. And so when we were getting him done and we got through the first few samples, it took about 3 years to really come up with the idea of what we're going to make. Reed, my COO of my company, said, you know what? This is the time that we call something Knuckle Sandwich. And there you go. How was that for a long-winded answer?
That was really good. That was good. But, yeah. Now, you called it Knuckle Sandwich. You created the cigar. But there was some resistance from people, from your people, right?
From
people
everybody. What do you mean from some people?
Okay, from everybody.
My whole team was saying no.
Nobody wanted you to make a cigar.
No.
Why not? Why didn't they want you to make a cigar?
So my little sister, unfortunately, had passed away from cancer at that time 10 years ago. And, there's unfortunately people have the wrong idea and wrong. I mean, you all know because we're in this club together with cigars that this is not inhaling. This is not a cigarette. Okay, this is far from it. And there was just some negative connotation with it. They said, no, it can't. And, it's not a good image, and and this went on and on. And so it was a milestone in my career. I had just gotten my star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Here, let me pick up what I just dropped. So thank you for laughing at that. That's my cousins over there. But I just got my star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The Food Network said when I was getting my star, they said, so where would you like to have, after you get your star, where would you like to have your luncheon? I said, my what? My luncheon? I said, I don't think I've ever been to a fucking luncheon. I don't want a luncheon. I want a kegger. I said, let's get like a bunch of beer and some burgers and everybody in the parking lot, and let's get Motley Crue to play. They're like, no, you get a luncheon for 25 people. Who do you want to invite? I said, I don't want a luncheon. I said, I'll make my own goddamn party. But I said, I've got all these fans that are going to show up for this. Let's have a real party. So lo and behold, it turns out there's 700 people that come to my party. Food Network throws me the biggest bash ever, and Foreigner played. So Foreigner's there playing, and it helps that I was friends with the band. Maybe we got a deal. So anyhow, Foreigner's playing, and the song's, Jukebox Hero, Standing in the Rain, and I'm standing there, and I'm smoking one of my favorite cigars, Hoyo de Monterey Double Corona, and I'm sitting there smoking, and I got my nephew on one arm, and I got Hunter, my oldest son, on the other, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just having this I'm just having the moment of a lifetime. And all of a sudden, my agents and Reed and everybody comes over and kind of doing some congratulations. They said, so what do you want to do next? What do you want to do in your career? Do you want to do movies? You want to do TV shows? You want to, you want to write a book, a tell-all? What do you want to do? And I looked at them. I looked at all of them like this, and my one agent goes, "Jeez, the cigar thing, right? You want to do the cigar? God!" And they all looked at each other and said, "Well, you kind of gotten far enough in your career. You haven't screwed it up. All right, you can do the cigars." So that's when we got on the trek.
It's kind of like, yeah, that's great. Guy, do you think I'm being funny enough?
Well, I think that the audience definitely is a little, I don't think they've drank enough. We definitely should have got more primed up before we got in here. But I think we should probably try to bring you guys want the energy of this to come up a little bit? Jesus, they're dying for it. So why don't we bring somebody up that is way funnier than the two of us, definitely has something in common with us, that enjoys great cigars. But I'm telling you, I'm dying to hear what he's got to say.
Okay, we have another guest. You know him from the Scary Movie franchise of films, the Wayans Brothers television show. Put your hands together for Marlon Wayans.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
I said to Dave, I go, I want to have the slow draw walk out like you're waiting for the music to cue. I got it now. I'm like, what is he waiting for? Man, big fan, and didn't know that you're into the game, but this is fantastic.
Thank you.
This is exactly what I was talking about. Sit at that little place, Churchill's. You know, when are you going to get a chance to sit with a legend like this and have random conversations about who knows what? But to be next to you two guys is quite an honor. So, welcome.
Thank you. Well, that's the cigar culture, right? You never know who you're sitting next to. You meet such interesting people and have such great conversations. And, you know, I really love the world and the community of, you know, cigar smoking. So shout out to the whole community.
Yeah. Well, Marlon, it's great to have you up here with us. We're talking about cigar brands, and I failed to mention during the introduction, Marlon is the co-owner of the Honduran cigar brand Liga Tridente, which I believe he's smoking right now.
Yes, I am. I'm smoking our Liga Tridente Habano. It's a wonderful smoke, medium body, you know, and I like to start my day with one of these, a little bit of coffee, and I'm good. Or a beer.
Well, we usually have tequila.
But we have PCA. Fuck it. Give me a whiskey. Let's just go there.
So Marlon, we heard about Guy and how he got started with cigars at a pretty young age. Why don't you tell us first and foremost how you got into cigar smoking? What got you on this path, and what got you into cigars?
Actually, my brother Damon back in the 90s got me started smoking because he used to hang out with Michael Jordan, and Damon wanted to do everything Michael Jordan did, but he can't play ball, and he has this crazy broken like club foot, and I'm just like. And he and Michael made Damon cut his hair bald, which was the best thing that happened, even though Damon has a little head like a pea. So he was smoking cigars, so he introduced me to cigars, and I liked the cigar culture back in the 90s because I was a young man making money doing Wayans Brothers, and I just wanted to stay out of trouble. So instead of like going to clubs and doing dumb things, I just wanted to sit at home, smoke a cigar, and play golf. And then at 25, I started seeing my teeth was getting a little bit yellow, and my eyes was starting to get a little red, like Michael Jordan when he retired, you know, and I was just like, I don't know if I'm ready to have the crying Jordan meme face right now. So I put it down for about 20 years, and then I ran into Victor Curley and David Gaston, who was, you know, blending these wonderful sticks, and I tried one, and I was like, yo, what is this? How did you guys, and what do you need? And so I attached to this wonderful blend and these wonderful blenders. And now I've just been back to smoking, and I learned a lot about coconut pulls. So this way my teeth don't get yellow. See, they're nice and white. And I also learned about, you know, Visine. No, but and you know, taking care of yourself. You know, it's because you know make sure you get up in the morning, you work it out. Whatever you put in, you got to get out. So now you can, you know, I can enjoy my sticks and still maintain.
Isn't it crazy though? And I think that we all probably share in this. The more I know this as a cook, the more I learned about the food I was cooking and where it came from and how it was raised or produced or so forth, the more appreciation I had for what I was putting on the plate. Well, as soon as I got involved with the Espinosa team, and it sounds like you had that same epiphany, that when you really start, that's one of the things I love about PCA, and I love these conventions and big, you know, all these events, or Cigar Aficionado, who's actually leading the way for us, is education. The better education, the more appreciation, the better the smoke, the better engagement, you know, the conversation and so forth. So it seems like you kind of had that when you got in touch with these guys.
Excuse me, what was the last?
It seems like you kind of got that when you got.
Yes, when I came back to it, I came back to cigar smoking like with a different mentality. My mentality was, you know, I had a lot of people that would teach me things, and you know, about the leaf, and you know, Sarah sitting right there, she would tell me about the leaf, and Miss Novelty be like, this is the part of the leaf, and this and that, and here's the wrapper and the binder, and you really start breaking down the construction of a cigar. And then I went down to Honduras with my partners, Vic and Dave, and I was able to actually try to blend my own stick. That failed, but the point is,
not as easy.
No, because it's not as easy as you think it is. I was like, man, I'm gonna take this wrap. I'm gonna take this Habano wrap, and I'm gonna make it a binder, and then I'm gonna go with the Corojo wrapper. I made some shit called the Godzilla. It was so strong. They took 2 hits, and it was like, Dave was like, I ain't smoking this shit. You gonna burn my palate out. And so, you know, I'm learning how to blend and, you know, learning more. And so I think you're right. It's about having an intellectual conversation about the stick and even the plant, you know?
Yeah, and it really does, and it opens you up, because I was using that reference. There's my godfather there, Eric. The first thing he gave me was Laranja, which is still to this day one of my favorite cigars. I mean, of course, I have my favorite Cubans and so forth, but it was that, and I'm like, I don't smoke. I'm a Maduro guy, man. Give me those big bold, you know. And now I have my cigars lined out, about 3 or 4, about how my escalation of the day will be. But I'm the same way. I don't do the beer in the morning. Bullshit. But I don't. But I do that lighter cigar. You know, I'll do something Connecticut shade wrapper, something a little bit thinner, a little bit, and start my day off with it. And then I know what I'm going to end the night with. My wife can almost plan when I'm getting ready to go to bed.
I was like you. I was a Maduro guy. Maduro. And then I started allowing myself to go through the experience of what is Connecticut, and start to explore Connecticut wrappers and different, because you find different things and different notes and different wrappers and different leaves. And so I'm just open to trying it all. And then I went through a Cuban phase. And I mean, if the government came to my house, they'd lock my ass up, because I got a shitload of Cubans. I got contraband. And, you know, but I think that it's more than that. It's good to try every stick and figure out what is your best and what is your palate. It's a journey, and that's what I love about it.
Well, you guys are both doing the right thing in terms of building a brand. You're at the most important trade show in the world to expose your cigars to the most important retailers in the world. Aside from building a brand via this trade show, the PCA trade show, what are some of the other things you've done? I imagine for both of you, events are considerably important, getting the cigar in the hands of consumers.
I do a cut and light in damn near every city I go to, and you know, because I'm always on tour. So I go to the city, I try to sit down at 2 or 3 different cigar lounges and have conversation and get our sticks in there. We started out in 5 locations last year, and now we're in over 85 locations, and we're here now to look for global distribution, because, you know, I think it's the quality of the stick. It's just not a celebrity brand. It's a celebrity that's attached to a great brand of sticks. So I love the blends. I love the if I wasn't involved, I would smoke my Liga Tridente. So, you know, I'm just blessed to have great blenders with Vic and Dave. And after the Godzilla, I'm gonna put the Godzilla out just to, you know, because there's a few of y'all in here that could take that shit.
I'm on the mailing list. I'll take Godzilla 1.
Guy wants to smoke the Godzilla. Who else wants to try the Godzilla? Yeah, there's.
See, I told y'all that shit would work.
All I needed was the right marketing platform. All I needed was the right. No, you know, Eric and I, fortunately, and Jack leads the way for us in Espinosa. I'm traveling the country, doing shows, doing diners, drive-ins, and dives, and we do my foundation's called the Guy Fieri Foundation, and our whole program is about supporting first responders, active military, and veterans. Who's our veterans? Who's our first responders? Anybody? Active military? Freedom ain't free. Thank you very much for your service. And if you're not one of those that are serving, you're probably a family member, and family members, in my opinion, matter just as much because you're the one that have to do that support. And my dad was in the military, in the Navy during Vietnam. He was in submarines. Not that there was a lot of submarines in Vietnam, but it was the era. But anyhow, the point being is we go around.
My dad was too, and he got flat feet, so they discharged his black ass. So.
Really?
Yeah. You should see my dad's feet. You think my feet are flat. My father's has no arch. My father needs a spatula to get his off the ground with every step.
Well, we go around and we do the same thing. And thank goodness, I really got to say it, the small retailers, we have one in Northern California called the Squire. And I remember when I opened my first restaurant, I was such a cigar fan, and there wasn't really big bans in California at that time about smoking. And we had a patio, so we put up this, we had a little humidor. And Linda from the Squire would sell me cigars for wholesale. Even though she was a cigar business, she would still sell them to me at wholesale just so I could sell them. I don't think I even had a license to sell tobacco, but just so we could have that and have this little, cigar event out on our patio. And the thing is that's what keeps this going. I mean, there's so many different avenues to get your cigar, but I really think the small retailer and what they offer through the education and the camaraderie and the place to hang out, and especially in some states not having the ability to smoke any goddamn where, but they offer that experience. And so a big shout out to all the small retailers. Thanks for keeping our dreams alive.
Yes, sir.
You guys are the ones.
Guys, so events are a big deal in your world too. I mean, you come to our Big Smokes. Shameless plug, Guy's going to be on stage with me at the Big Smoke Las Vegas this November. How
Drinking tequila, getting completely out of control.
We don't have tequila for that. How important are the events for you, Guy? How important is that toward building the Knuckle Sandwich brand?
Well, I think I had to combat the biggest thing that was going on, and I think you've probably gone through this as well, is it's a celebrity brand. Guy's not going to be here. Dave, I was just in my house. I flew in just to be here today to be on stage with you and to throw our party next door to kick this off. And unfortunately, I've got some crazy birthday I have to go to in the Bahamas. Sorry, let me pick that up.
Over here, flossing.
No, but I trust me, I'd rather be here hanging out with everybody.
Sure.
You want to go for me?
Fuck yeah. No, I'm joking. We're taking all of us to the Bahamas. PCA next year in the Bahamas. Let's do it.
But the thing is it's I just thought of him going to the Bahamas for me, and I'm like, how am I going to explain that to my wife? No, it's going to be fine, babe. But these are the events, these are the opportunities to talk about cigars and to show people that this isn't just a brand stamp. That's the hardest thing, because I saw so many people that were before me in this industry that are superstars, or like big-time stars and big-time athletes, and I was always told a celebrity-branded cigar is not going to work, and I'm like, I absolutely don't want to be that. And I told Eric Espinosa and the whole team, I said, you challenge me to be at any event, and if I say I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there. And I probably do, what do you do, Eric? 100 events, 100 visits, 75 visits a year? Yeah, he'll push me. He'd get me 365 if he could. That guy does not sleep. He's Dracula or something. There's something wrong with the guy.
I do the same. I knew that PCA was coming, so I booked a show here. I'll be at the Fillmore tonight, for shameless plug, if you guys want to come see me perform tonight, 8 o'clock at the Fillmore. But I booked that show just so I can be here and be at PCA. I think it's important that we show up for a brand and that you believe in the brand, and you have to believe in the product. I have to believe in the blends. I have to believe in what I'm selling to people, because I'm not going to sell you bullshit. Not intentionally, so for some of y'all that seen some bad movies, my bad. I tried, y'all,
So the U.S. cigar market is considerably large today compared to certainly where it was when I joined the business in '95. If you look back over the past 10 years, the market by units, the market is up about 35%. It wasn't that long ago when it was about 320 million units cigars imported per year. We just reported on the
620. We're at six. Are we like,
now it's at like 430 million. So it's gone up 100 million units in 10 years, which is considerable growth. In 92, when we started Cigar Aficionado, it was about 100 million units. And that's just the number of cigars. Forget the fact that the cigars were far cheaper back then. The market has gone up in an incredible way in terms of price per cigar. When you gentlemen joined the market, Guy, I think Knuckle Sandwich was launched in 2022, and Marlon, I believe, Liga Tridente 2025. Were you looking at the market in terms of its health, and were you looking upon this as a business decision, or was this really more from the heart, I just want to be in the cigar business?
Well, for me, I started because of the passion, right? I'm at a point in my life, I'm 53 years old, and, you know...
How old?
53. Black don't crack. Unless you smoke it. If you smoke it, no, but, you know, I'm 53 years old, and I'm just at a point where I like meaningful conversations, not loud music in clubs. I like to learn things from different people from different walks of life. Look at how blended this room is, and, you know, there's so much to learn from each and every individual in here, and you never know who you're sitting next to, you know. And I love having just these conversations that it's normalcy, right? In celebrity world, you looked at it, oh my God, man, when I light a stick and I'm in the lounge, I'm just Marlon, bro. I'm just like everybody else, and I'm approachable, and you come sit with me and talk to me and learn things about me, and I can learn things about you, and I love the community of it. And then with your Cigar Aficionado and, you know, you guys' influence and input, you learn about the business and that there is a business there. But I think every business, you have to start with the passion, and then that drives you through the business. So passion first. I love the community of cigar smoking.
Yeah, my dad told me if you love what you do, you won't work a day in your life. And I love being a cook. I never saw the TV thing being my future, but it kind of turned into what it turned into. And the cigar thing, I just wanted to be around it. You know, the energy of anybody that was in the business, just hanging out at the Squire, hanging out at Churchill's in Long Beach, you know, it just was, there was an energy about it. There was a mystique about it. It was like, you know, anybody remember you bought your first Cuban? How much that cost you? You know, no one's ever bought one? Okay, thank you. But it was that kind of feeling. So this was something, it wasn't about I needed to make more money or I needed to have another business. I got enough of those. It was really about that same thing, about the passion. I want to be in the club. I want to be part of this. It's the reason I want to come here tonight and hang out with everybody and have the chat and smoke the cigars and find out who's doing what project. I didn't know that you had yours going, Marlon. So now there's another cigar that I'm excited to go and try. And that's, you know, that's kind of why I got into it. And then, you know, hopefully you do it right and you're with the right people. And but I got to give, you know, Dave, and this isn't to kiss ass or anything, but I got to really give credit to Cigar Aficionado. I talk about this with the Food Network. You know, I think the Food Network saved the world of food. You know, we were going down a path so long there in food that we were microwaving a lot of stuff. Restaurants were making your food in Schenectady and then shipping it prepackaged in plastic bags and then microwaving it, you know, at a restaurant in, you know, in Southern California. And there was just, food was going downhill. People were eating for the calorie consumption and the salt and all that, and weren't really giving the appreciation to the quality of food. And fortunately, I give a lot of credit to the Food Network that they helped right that ship, and we're getting back to real food for real people. Everybody, I think, has a much better palate now than we were in the late 80s, early 90s. Am I right with that? I mean, we're eating better food. We have better awareness of food. But I got to give that to you guys. You know I'm a big Marvin fan, but I got to give it to Cigar Aficionado. The education level on so many platforms and the highlighting that you do, but I think that you've inspired the industry and you've been the steady force. You know, there's no cigar television shows. There's a lot of great podcasters and a lot of great videos out there, don't get me wrong. But I really have to say it. I was just reading the new one about Cody on the way here on the plane, and I'm just going, wow, look at this. Look at the insight that you're giving us and looking how you're sharing all the different lifestyles that involve cigars. So a big round of applause and a big thank you to Cigar Aficionado. Appreciate it.
I used to
and
dream.
By the way, have you told this? I didn't mean to cut you off. Have you told the story? I was with Marvin having lunch the other day. Let me pick that up. And we were talking. It was Jake and Marvin and I and my son Hunter. We were all sitting there talking about the start of the magazine. Do you talk about that on the regular? Do you know? Do people know this story?
we don't probably talk about it enough. And all credit to Marvin Shanken, who created Cigar Aficionado before I joined that company in 1992. And it kind of gets back to what you said, Guy, about people on your team not wanting you to get into the cigar business. Marvin had M. Shanken Communications and had Wine Spectator long before Cigar Aficionado, but he always loved cigars. And he went in front of all his top brass one day after a trip to Cuba, and he said, I'm going to start a cigar magazine. And just about everybody said, Marvin, it's a bad idea. It's cigars. It's not a vibrant business. You've got this great magazine, Wine Spectator. It's a big success. This is a risk you should not take. They said you shouldn't do it. And Guy, you spent some time with Marvin, so you can understand what kind of an answer he gave. And Josh, we said we're not going to swear here, but he said, fuck you, I'm going to start a cigar magazine. And he created a cigar magazine because he loves cigars. It wasn't a good business idea at the time. It's turned into a great business. But he put his business hat aside and said, before I die, I want to have a cigar magazine. And he started that cigar magazine. And I like to say that I knew it as a reader before I knew it as an editor. I saw the first copy of Cigar Aficionado that came across, that I found, and I said, my God, I've got to join this. This is everything I've ever looked for. It's a magazine about cigars. It made me smoke more cigars, understand more about cigars. And it's because of his passion and his refusal to say no that he started the magazine, and he basically just put all his love and appreciation into it, and it's still to this day, it's his baby. And he's got a lot of magazines, but I like to think that Cigar Aficionado is probably his favorite.
I used to always dream as an actor or writer, producer, to be on the cover of GQ, right? And once I got into the cigar world, I'm like, no disrespect, but fuck GQ. I want to be on the cover of Cigar Aficionado because that's the coolest shit out.
I was the exact same way. My publicist, you know how your publicists work. They come and say, okay, what are your goals for this year? And you want to do this. And I've had some great covers and really appreciate all the exposure. It's been wonderful. But I remember they told me that they want to do an interview, but they're not going to give you the cover. And I said, I don't care. I'll just be in the magazine. I'm just happy. And Dave and I got a chance to meet, and I think maybe a couple of bottles of tequila, and 5 hours later, and he wrote the article and took it into Marvin and gave it to Marvin and put it in front of him. And he said, after reading, he goes, I don't know who this guy is, but this guy should be on the cover. And we had asked for probably literally 15 years. My publicist kept going, saying he's a big cigar smoker. He really wants to be in the magazine. And Marv shut it down every time. So was I the first chef that was on the cover?
I think so.
Because I know that Jose Andres has been on. I know that you've had a couple. But the thing was, and I remember exactly where I was, exact moment, and it really...
How? You had 5 bottles of tequila. What the fuck?
Oh, I'm doing my best operation at 5 bottles of tequila.
On cue.
Thank you, Josh.
Why you get the cool music and I got the poetry? Thank you, bro. Thank you. Now the party can start.
All right, let's have a big hand for Josh. Who's cooler than Josh? Okay, now we're going to talk.
Right.
That's a party.
Anyhow, so I was so happy about that. I went and took that cover, and I had it bronzed. And that's the only thing that all the shit that your wife won't let you keep in the house, that was one of the things I did. But I showed you a picture, Dave. That was a big deal. Cool. So thanks again for that opportunity.
Well, now that we've got a little tequila next to us, Guy, I want to ask you this. You're in the tequila business. You've got a brand called Santo, which you make with Sammy Hagar. Pretty cool. It's great stuff if you haven't had it. Give it a shot.
Stolen.
What similarities are there between building a tequila brand and building a cigar brand?
We only have 15 minutes left. That's a long question. You know what it is? I think that it's, in today's world, there's so much transparency, and I think that it's just, you got to realize that people are far more educated than they were. They're not just going to believe hype and shtick. They really want to know that there's authenticity. They want to know that there's truth behind it. They want to know that you really know what you're doing. It's like in the quality of the product that you start with. I use this in the education of tequila all the time, that the plant that's used is a succulent. It's called a Weber Blue Agave, and that you can only make tequila out of the Weber Blue Agave. Well, when the Weber Blue Agave grows, and the bulb of the Weber is called the piña, so when it gets to a certain size, it's harvestable. It's kind of like an apple on the tree. The apple looks like it's ripe, so go ahead and pick it, make an apple pie. But if it's not ripe, you're going to have to add what to it? You'd have to add a lot more sugar to make that apple pie work. But if you pick that same apple in 3 weeks, it's going to be ripe and sweet and have natural sugar. You won't put all that crap in the pie. Well, the same thing goes with tequila. Same thing goes with tobacco. The way you grow it, the way you treat it, the way you work with it is all the steps in what the end result will be. So you could put as cool of a polish on it as you want. Tequila got called out really hard in this last couple of years about additive free. So many people are making tequila that's been stepped on with so many different things added to it. And the truth is in the tequila, no tequilas as we call it, but like 10% of the tequilas have no additives in them. So as I become more of a student of tobacco and of how this all works, it's just amazing to realize there are some frauds in the game, but the authenticity and the truth and who's doing it right and who's treating it from the seed to the smoke and who's doing all those steps, that's really what will shine through, and that's what's prevailing in the industry. How was that?
That's pretty good. Only took about 7 minutes, but it's good. Nobody's counting.
Well, Marlon, what about you? How does owning your own cigar brand, being a co-owner of Liga Tridente, how does that compare, if it does, to being an actor, to being in films?
I think it's about, everything is about the quality, right? When you're building a brand, you have to make sure it's quality. Like when we built the Wayans brand, our comedy is different than anybody else's comedy. We had the Scary Movie franchise. It was taken from us, and they did 3 other movies afterward, and the audience was like, wait, this don't taste like the Wayans. And now we're doing Scary Movie 6, and and the Wayans came back to our franchise, and the audience, we got 500 million views in 5 days for the new trailer, and there was an excitement about our brand coming back to theaters, but also an excitement of comedy coming back. I think comedy has been in a depressed place for the last 20 years, and part of that is we haven't been doing movies like that. So I think it's significant and it's important that your brand is good, right? The blenders, Liga Tridente stands out because David and Victor rolled some great sticks, and sticks that I stand behind. And you don't want to sell anybody bullshit. And I think that's what you do. And it's make sure that the quality of the stick and the experience is good. Same thing with comedy.
It's so funny you were talking about the blender. My buddy Hector over here, who's kind of like my Obi-Wan Kenobi to my world of learning about this. It's so funny because in movies, and this whole movie world, but we have it in Food Network as well, is the editor. The editor is really such an important part of that story being told. I mean, they're the ones that have to sift through all of it and, as they say, leave stuff on the cutting room floor. But as I sat here and talked with Hector to the point where he doesn't answer my phone calls anymore, and learning about the blending and learning about all these factors of fermentation, learning about all the aging and starting to get into it, it's just such a rabbit hole. There's such a wormhole of stuff to go get into that the more I get into it, my dad used to tell me, he goes, the older I get, son, the more I realize I don't know shit. It's like the deeper you dive into the world of cigars. And that's really what the beauty of it is there's no end. And you're going to meet somebody. Everybody here in this room, I bet, knows something about cigars or has an experience with cigars or has a memory of a cigar or a flavor profile or so, that nobody else has. And that's what makes the adventure so incredible.
I just went down to Honduras with David and Victor about 2 months ago to go down to the Gran Habano, who rolls our sticks. And we also our headquarters will be in Amapala. Shout out to Amapala because that's where our new headquarters is going to be. And we're going to grow our own leaves. And it's a wonderful, wonderful place that sits between Nicaragua and Honduras. And, we went through the process. We smoked I was trying to blend this stick. I smoked 12 different, just the leaf itself. I was so high. Just before blending them, you had to have each stick, smoke them down, and really, you burn your palate out. Sometimes you got to come back the next day, and then you walk through the process of what it takes to make a stick and what's the difference between a real premium leaf and some fillers. And we have premium leaves in our sticks, and I understand what that is now. Right? You never really understand until you go down there and you see them and there's a room that they pull the ammonia out of the cigar. I was high as shit in that room. I was like, damn. But now when you smoke a cigar, you could taste who actually pulls the ammonia out and who kind of skips that process. And I think every step of the way you can't cheat the process. And if you're going to make a great stick.
And if you miss it, that's the crazy thing about it. That's the craziest part about this is if you get into that fermentation and you get too hot, you get that 100 degrees and they're not taking it and pulling apart and flipping it, and they're not spending that time with it. All the effort that was made in the seed, all the effort is in the priming, everything that has taken place is for naught. It just stops right there. It's dead. And there's so many, when they talk about 300 hands touching a cigar, I mean, Jesus, when you really think about all the time and energy and effort, and then what a blessing we can buy it at the prices we buy it, especially with all the crazy-ass taxes. But we did have a great win. Didn't we have a great win recently? Huh? Got to give our boy Rocky some credit on that. That guy's he's a hammer. But that is the truth of it, is it's so many steps to get to that finale, to really sticking the landing. Yeah.
You talked about how difficult it is to make cigars. I mean, it's simple on the formula is simple, right? Just a bunch of leaves rolled together. There's really two ingredients, tobacco and time. What surprised you about the business? What was your first big surprise? I'll start with you, Guy. Going into making a cigar, what assumption did you have that proved just, wow, this is completely different? I'm shocked by this. What surprised you going in?
I didn't know you had to smoke every last single leaf that you're putting in a cigar, but you got to try each one to then go, I want to put these 3 leaves together, and I want this one to be the binder, and I want this one to be the wrapper. It's like a science, man. It literally, it's like 2 parts oxygen and 1 part hydrogen, and the shit blows up in your face. And it takes time to go, okay, this is the right amount of this and where to place the leaf. You know what I mean? It's an experience, man. And so shout out to all the blenders, man, because that's a very tough thing to do. And when you get it right, it's magic.
Mine was the farming. I went to Cuba. I had an opportunity when Cuba had that little window that we could go visit. And my dad had been at Guantanamo Bay back when he was in the Navy, and so I wanted to take him there to have the experience. Went there and had some of the best goddamn food. The nicest people, by the way. It was an incredible experience. I'm not speaking about the government. I'm talking about the people. And went there to the tobacco fields and went and had this really great, but the hard work and the heat, the humidity. I mean, you think it's humid when you're standing right there under the little cabana. Then you go out with those leaves, and you're out there in these plants, and you're feeling this, and then you got bugs and the whole thing. But I think I was kind of along the lines of everybody. Like, they just come in and cut the whole plant down, and then they bring it in and they dry it, and then it goes on and on. And, oh, gosh, that's as far from anything. I mean, they're out there every single day. They're touching that same plant every day or every other day, taking off those different leaves and those different sections, the Seiko. They're just going through and they're really looking at it. And it's just like, I thought the wine business was meticulous. I mean, I thought that they were spending a time, and now we're talking even about more plants. But doing that and then watching all that energy in the curing barn or the drying barn where they're drying it, and just all these pieces. And I'm like, thanks. This has been a great tour for the last 3 hours. When are we going to see somebody roll it? And they're like, the rolling doesn't even happen here. We don't even touch that. So that level of work and dedication to people that never even see the end result, to me, was amazing.
It is a remarkable process. I always say that if you understand how cigars are made, even though prices have gone up quite a bit recently, you'll come away saying, how do they charge so little for everything that goes into this, the amount of time, the labor?
1,000%. I can't even get over it.
So was that trip to Cuba revelation for you, Guy, to see all that in action?
I was like a little kid. It's like you won the shopping spree at Toys R Us. You have a $100 gift certificate, and you wanted to buy everything. I couldn't buy shit fast enough. I was going to my whole film crew. All right, just so you know, you guys are all here because you're on my film team. You're taking a box home, you're taking a box home, you're taking a box home. I bought everything under the sun. But yeah, it really was. And maybe it was some of the mystique, and maybe it was some of the, the desire for always it to happen, but it was going out into the fields and spending that day and watching them bring it in on a burro and watching all these people participating. They transition from one job to the other job, and everybody works seamlessly. And it's really how I feel. I mean, the taxes are what really kill us a lot on these prices, and that's nothing that we can do about it except fight. But the truth of it is when that's what I was saying earlier, when you know when the ingredients come from as a chef, and when you put it on the plate, it makes it so much more delicious. And now that I've had that chance to see it, it just changed my whole world. I highly recommend if you ever get a chance.
I went to Gran Habano, and I went into their, who rolls our sticks, and I went into their humidor. And I lost my mind. I felt like a kid at a candy store. I got hard. I was like... Sorry.
What did you just say?
I got hard. It was such an amazing experience. I was just like, oh my God, I want to smoke all this shit. And I never wanted to rob anything. I'd never been a criminal in my life, but I was thinking, how do I rob this humidor and take all these cigars back to my house? It was such, I will post it. Me there, I literally was never so happy in my life as when I was in that humidor.
It gets in your blood, doesn't it?
It does, man. I was just smelling every stick. There was just, oh my God.
But I don't know if anybody here gets, like, I'm always out there on the advocacy for cigars, and everybody knows I love them, and I've brought more people into this world, I think, that are just my close friendship. I don't like cigars. That's usually like somebody telling me I don't like Brussels sprouts. They tell me they don't like, who doesn't like Brussels sprouts? Anybody? Not like Brussels sprouts? Typically, the reason we don't like Brussels sprouts is in the 70s and the 80s, your mom boiled them. Boiled Brussels sprouts suck unless you're in a crab boil or something like that. They're not good. So people say, I don't like cigars. I said, let me break it down for you. So somebody gave you a cigar at a wedding. Someone had a baby and they gave you that cigar. What'd you do with it? You probably took it and you threw it on the dashboard of your truck, or it sat in your golf bag or rolled around in your briefcase. And then finally you're going to go out and golf, or you're going to go play pickleball, or you're going to do something and have a poker game, and you're going to smoke that cigar. And what you're smoking is just a giant, dried out, hot dog turd, okay? I wouldn't want to smoke cigars either, because an improperly handled cigar sucks. And so a lot of times I'll just slowly walk people through, give them a little bit more mild cigar, a little short Robusto, give them something to kind of work their way into it. And people are like, wait a second, this isn't what I remember a cigar to taste like. Cigars will be hot and acidic and nasty and have no flavor and burn too quick and da-da-da. And so I think that one of the things we all need as fans of cigars is help educate people about it, because I think that anybody that says they don't like it, 9 times out of 10, I find that they just don't have the right background to it.
Hello?
There you go.
Back there. Just got a couple of minutes left. What's next? What's on the horizon for both of your brands? Maybe you could share in the couple of minutes we have left, Marlon and Guy, what you have planned for the future to continue the growth of Liga Tridente and the Knuckle Sandwich brand.
Well, right now we're looking for, big distribution, because, I want to support it in a big way. I have a huge movie coming out, and globally this movie is going to perform. And, I want the same thing with my cigars, our cigars. I want our cigars to be everywhere. I want to be the cigar that when people walk into the humidor and you don't see Liga Tridente, you go, oh, that's some bullshit. They ain't got this. And you just beeline and get out of there, because I think the stick is that good, and I want everybody to experience it. And, I just want to say that I was surprised in this world. You think you come to the cigar world and it's a bunch of old dudes smoking cigars, but if you look at the diversity and how many, especially the women that are into cigar smoking, and how beautiful they are, and how, it's a great community to sit and talk and have a real conversation, not about anything lascivious, but just about, spirit and mind, with a beautiful woman sitting across from you. It's a great place and a great home and a safe space for us to, grow community.
Guy, what about you? What's next?
Everything he said. I don't have a movie, though. No, you know what? I told Eric this today. I've told him it yesterday. I told him 2 months ago. I told him 2 years ago. I want to be in this as far as I can be. And this, my education, my drive, my interest in doing this as a businessman, but also as a fan of cigars. So fortunately, Eric and I, with a great team, have put together a program, and we're going to start our own factory down in the Dominican Republic.
That's news. That's great.
Right? And that opportunity is going to open so many doors. Do I ever think I'm going to be a blender? No, I'm probably going to be making Godzilla 2. All right, I'll be there right with you. What the hell is that? Is that to fumigate a house? Good, Fieri made that one. No, I want to be in it to every degree. You know, I spent a lot of time in Mexico. I want to see what that, you know, what that experience and culture is like in the World Series. But I have so much traveling to do. I have so much exposure I want to have. You know, the older I get, the more I want to, you know, I start to really make that decision of where I want to spend my time. And my time is going to be so much more dedicated to what we're doing down in DR and to just understanding all these pieces. And I push Eric all the time, like, I want to make our own boxes. No, come on, man. No, we got other things to do. But I want all of it, man. I want to get in every single piece of it. And that's why I said, and I really appreciate the opportunity to come here again and be a part of PCA. And we'll see, as we said, a shameless plug for the big smoke. But I'm trying to be everywhere I can in the world of cigars because it is really one of my favorite places to hang out. So thank you.
I am so glad you mentioned time, because as we close, I just want to say I know how precious time is for both of you. You're both extremely busy, and I want to thank you both, Marlon Wayans and Guy Fieri, for being here today at the PCA trade show and kicking this thing off. Thank you so much for being. Let's have a big hand for both of them.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.